Thank you very much to our lovely sponsors, including Tokyo Attack, providing import Japanese arcade machines to the AGDQ 2016 arcade room, including Super Table Flip, Jubeat, and Initial D Arcade Stage 7 AAX. Tokyo Attack specializes in bringing rare import Japanese games to conventions and events all across the country. They are host to America's largest collection of independently owned import games. For more information, please go to http://www.tokyoattack.net. Thank you very much for all of your continued donations. Thank you very much, Alder, for the $500 donation. Really entertaining show so far. Congrats on breaking 500K. The Kingdom Hearts Battle Block Theater Ori block was a blast, and I never knew Talos Principle was a parkour game. Here's 500 toward beating cancer and going towards the Excalibur route in FF4. Thank you very much, Ashley228, for the $50 donation. Glad that I'm not broke this time around and I am able to donate. Hope this will help us one day kick cancer's butt. Thank you very much, Jason Lim, for the $20 donation. Rock on. Love Mega Man ZX and love to see it run. Thank you very much, Anonymous, for the $12 donation. Can't help but donate when I see Mega Man ZX, since Advent is my favorite Mega Man game. Money goes towards Final Fantasy. Thank you very much, Shanik181, for the $120 donation. Hey AGDQ, loving the speedruns and good luck to all the runners. This donation is going towards seeing Final Fantasy being run tomorrow. Thank you very much, Kasumi Blue, for the $25 donation. Nice to see Mega Man ZX get some love. Donating during the Mega Man X block as always because I love these games. Coming up next will be Azure Striker Gunvolt, but first we will have an interview with Ajarmar and Greenalink.
I can hear it now. Well,
okay. Hope you guys have been enjoying Awesome Games Done Quick 2016. We are rounding out the Mega Man X block with something that's not technically part of the Mega Man X series, but has a very similar kind of feel to it. It's called Azure Striker Gunvolt. It's a game on Steam. Very, very fun. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. And here with me, I've got the two runners of this game who will be racing it today, Ajarmar and Greenalink. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Now I'm curious, how exactly did you get into this game in particular, Greenalink?
Let me think. It was a 3DS exclusive at the time. I'm sorry,
Yeah, sorry. He's losing his voice, so there'll be a bit of a up and down, but go ahead.
So it was a 3DS exclusive at the time, and I thought it was a pretty impressive looking game. It had a lot of speed, bit of hardcore elements in it, so I thought, why not give it a shot?
Gotcha. Ajarmar, how about you?
Well, I got the game for free,
Oh, yeah.
so I decided to play it. And well, I've played some Mega Man games before, so well, it's a fun game. And
Yeah.
It's very similar to Mega Man, so I decided to stick with it.
Yeah, because actually, Inti Creates, the developer of this game, actually helped us to put on a race of the game, and Ajarmar was one of the entrants. The winner of the game won a trip to Japan. Unfortunately, it was not either of these guys. They came in third and fifth, respectively, but it was a really close race. And so I'm glad that you guys liked the game so much from that race that you continued to run it. So, I mean, Ajarmar, you're known for playing Mega Man-style games. Greenalink, do you play any? And could you speak to
Actually,
that?
I have 1 to 6, 9 and 10.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. I'm just so glad that you guys like this game so much. Are there any, Ajarmar, are there any particular points in the run today which make you nervous?
Well, the second, well, technically the third stage, if you count Danger Stage, which is Viper stage, it's a very, very scary stage because it has very unforgiving enemy placements, and you kind of have to navigate around all the enemies. You can't just like jump over them and just hold forward all the time.
Gotcha.
So I'm a bit nervous for that.
And, go ahead.
And also, the boss rush at the end is kind of scary because you have to do 3 bosses in a row, and you don't get like any health in between them. And if you die on the third one, you have to go back to the first one again.
Gotcha. And one last question for you. I'm just curious, how did you get into speedrunning exactly?
I started speedrunning with Mega Man X with SRL Season 1. And then I quickly moved over to Mega Man X2 because I found it more fun. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Good luck on the race today. I hope you guys like Azure Striker Gunvolt coming up next.
Thank you very much, Ducauto, for the Ducauto19 for the $50 donation. I gave up talking to my girlfriend on the phone in order to watch this. You guys are amazing, and Mega Man is my favorite game character of all time. Let's beat cancer. Thank you very much, Nathan10, for the $50 donation. Me and my girlfriend both love Mega Man. We race each other sometimes in games, and we've learned a lot of tricks from you guys. Keep up what you're doing. It's inspiring. Thank you very much, the BC Factor, for your $50 donation. Had to donate to support a great cause and to show some love for the first game cartridge I ever bought, Final Fantasy 1. Thank you, Imposter Oak, for the $20 donation. I'm putting this money towards the Diablo 2 any percent name to be Chris Wilson, the creator of Path of Exile and RN Jesus. Thank you, Anonymous, for the $250 donation. This Mega Man block has been awesome. I can't wait for Diablo 2. Let's see that cow level. Thank you, Anonymous, for the $25 donation. As someone working in cancer research, I'm happy to spend some money here for that good cause. Great runs, everyone. This week has been a blast. Can't wait for the Diablo runs. This donation will go towards the character named Chris Wilson in the Diablo any percent. The man, the god of fishing, RN Jesus himself. Greetings to the Path of Exile community. Thank you very much, Me Less Than 3, for your $20 donation. First time I'm able to donate to AGDQ. As a young game developer, amazing events like this inspire me to keep creating. Good luck to all the runners. Please stay tuned as we are going to go to an ad, and when we get back, we will be preparing for Azure Striker Gunvolt. Thank you very much, Emotional Hobo, for the $100 donation. I'm donating so Frisk doesn't win for Secret of Mana. I just don't think an Undertale name deserves to win. If you disagree, why not outbid me? It's for a good cause, after all. Thank you very much, Non-Fat Ninja Hell, for your $50 donation. Since Undertale isn't being run, we have to represent it somehow. Money goes towards the name Frisk. Let's hope the runners aren't going to have a bad time. Thank you very much, Iron Caliber, for the $50 donation. This is my third GDQ, and I'm excited to donate during my favorite game series in the Mega Man block, and especially during Mega Man ZX. My grandmother was taken by breast cancer 4 years ago, so this cause is very important to me and certainly many others. Put this money towards the Final Fantasy bonus run, and also towards killing the animals. Thank you, Anonymous, for your $50 donation. Donating in honor of my Uncle Butch this year. Keep up the awesome work, everyone. Thank you, KCJ, for the $100 donation. Great work, guys. Always fun to watch. Thank you very much, Arjik, for the $30 donation. Thank you very much, LV Creed, for the $200 donation. $100 for each Gunvolt runner's choice. Thank you very much, Nmaster64, for your $80 donation. Hey everyone, to earn creator Nmaster64 here. I'm sad to report that as of this morning, my father has passed away after over a decade of multiple battles with cancer. Thanks everyone for all your hard work and contributions towards helping prevent future families from having to suffer these hardships. Best of luck to all the runners. Thank you very much, Nmaster64, and my condolences for your loss. Thank you, Nathan10, for the $45 donation. My girlfriend and I absolutely love the Mega Man games and have been looking forward to these runs for a long time. We often race each other on the X and Zero games, and we have learned quite a few tricks from watching you guys. Also, there is no secret cow level. Or is there? Why don't you find out? Thank you, Aaron Jevlith, for the $200 donation. This donation towards the Undertale-related names fills you with determination. Thank you very much, Joey58, for the $50 donation. Just wanted to hear my name on the stream. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Mr. Squirrel, for the $50 donation. Hey, you. Yeah, you, Greenalink. Good luck with the run. Speaking of animals, has Greenalink showed us his squirrel videos yet? Thank you very much, The Shadow, for your $50 donation. Video games are my life. I love all the games that you're doing, even though I haven't played all of them. Gotta love that Pokemon Blue. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Seabass, for the $50 donation. Shoutouts to the LADX crew. Wish you all can make it to the next GDQ. Donation goes to the cow level. Moo. Thank you very much, Silly Pirate, for the $50 donation. You guys are doing such a great thing. I hope to one day be able to play games for charity myself. But here's $50 for the portal that, quote, leads to a place that does not exist. The Burning Hills are not responsible for events that transpire there. If you claim to have been to the place, you will be called a liar. Void where prohibited, end quote. P.S. There is no cow level. Thank you very much, UZ, for the $10 donation. All right, Azure Striker Gunvolt, the only game in the Mega Man block that I have beaten. Thank you, Polyhex, for the $30 donation. One of my favorite parts of AGDQ is that I get to watch speedruns while doing game development work. Love you guys. This money is going to the name Frisk for Secret of Mana. Thank you, Pyro, for your $20 donation. During SGDQ, I sent a donation and didn't hear it read on air. Hopefully this one makes it through. Another great year and another great charity. Keep it up, GDQ.
Hey guys, thanks for waiting. We're about to get started with Azure Striker Gunvolt here. So I believe our runners are ready. So are you guys ready to start the timer on a countdown? Okay. All right, here we go, guys. Good luck to you both. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so there is so much to unpack for this game. There are a load of attacks that you have. We're going to go over the two main ones immediately. First of all, you have a gun attack. Now, this gun attack doesn't do much damage by itself, but it does what's called tagging enemies. You can tag an enemy up to 3 times. And then if you follow it up with that flash field attack, which is that blue electric aura that appears around them, that actually uses that tag feature to do a ton of damage to whatever's tagged at the time. The flash field itself, if an enemy is untagged, does very little damage. But once you tag enemies, that's how you really rack up the damage. And you can actually, once an enemy is tagged, it doesn't have to be inside that aura for it to take damage. It can actually be damage from afar.
You'll get different weapons throughout the game that have different tag properties. Right now, the maximum amount of tags you can do is somewhat limited, but it changes over the time, and you'll get more weapons and have more opportunities to tag more enemies.
Yep, you'll also notice in the lower left of the corner, there are these three kind of parallelogram-shaped objects. And what those represent are skills. The first you start with by default is called the Astrosphere, which we'll be seeing in a little bit. And you can really see, so look at this mini-boss. You can really see that it's really a lot of the kind of flash field, which really does a lot of the damage. But they'll still spam that gun attack just to do that much more damage, as much as they can.
It adds up a lot over time.
Yeah, returning to the idea of the skills, this Astrosphere attack I mentioned is sort of a lightning orb attack, and it just deals colossal damage to anything basically kind of a half screen's distance away from you. And it does a lot of damage, but it opens up with a short little cutscene. So you have to kind of gauge whether or not it's worth the time loss of that cutscene in order to gain the damage it gives you. But we'll be seeing that in a little bit. So this mini-boss has two phases. It's a very, very close race so far. But this mini-boss has two phases where first you kind of weaken him and take him into phase 2. And then in phase 2, this vulnerability spot comes out of him, and you want to destroy that to finish him off. Now, this is just the intro stage. Like many Mega Man games, while this isn't technically a Mega Man game, but like Mega Man games, there's a stage select screen in which you can do the bosses in any order. However, unlike Mega Man games, you can... beating a particular boss doesn't result in getting that boss's weapon. What it does result in, or the reason that boss order matters, is that there's an experience feature where whenever you beat an enemy or a boss, you gain experience. And for every level up you get in the game, your health fully refills. So the reason that level order matters is that their routes have been precisely calculated in order to get the specific level ups that they want at specific times. So you've noticed that they've both started at with different levels. That is because they both have different spots where they'd like to be leveling. Two of the three primary spots are the same, but the third is different, and we'll be seeing that as we go. They'll start to match up after the fourth Adept, they're called, the fourth Robot Master. So here we are in Carrera's stage. We're going to be focusing mostly on Ajarmar's screen, and then once they meet up, after a few stages in, we'll commentate whoever's in the lead from that point, and we'll be trying to kind of watch out for both. But for the moment, we're going to be focusing on Ajarmar's screen. He's currently in the Adept known as Carrera's stage. Carrera's theme, each of the Adepts have themes, and Carrera's theme is magnetism. You can kind of see in the stage so far that Ajarmar is using his flash field ability to pull certain platforms in the stage towards him. And you're going to be seeing that throughout Part 2 as well. Now, especially in Part 2, he is going to be taking a lot of damage. You can see each one of these hits is purposeful, but watch his health, because very soon he's going to be taking a level up, and he's going to be gaining all of that health back. He just got all that health back, and that's going to be extremely huge, because now he can continue to take damage whenever he wants it, so that rather than manipulate these platforms to block the lasers, he can continue to just take damage whenever he needs to.
It's very, very slow to do it the intended way, so this is significantly faster.
So before too long, we're actually be coming up on the first boss, Carrera.
So against every boss, the player has to weigh when they're going to use the Astrosphere attack. So luckily, Carrera starting out is actually a fairly simple boss, in that he pretty much does the same thing every time. you'll see throughout this fight that Ajarmar is going to be spamming attacks as much as he can, and then he'll squeeze in an Astrosphere throughout most cycles. The way bosses work in this game is that they have 3 kind of divots of health, and typically once you deal enough damage, it'll cap out at the end of that divot. So Ajarmar here is using the Astrosphere at the most opportune locations. Another thing to consider against bosses is that certain attacks that they start doing causes them to become weak, and they'll take more damage from certain spells. So as you can see here, Ajarmar waited until the last phase to use the Astrosphere twice so that he can deal the max amount of damage.
You can see each time, obviously, each one of those attacks is preceded by a cutscene of sorts. Once the boss is taken down to his third of 3 segments of health, he does his own sort of what's called a desperation attack, one of those same sort of skills. And that's true for each of the bosses. In some cases, we'll be trying to skip that cutscene. So very nice to Ajarmar as well, who finishes his first boss, Jota. And we'll be seeing that soon on Ajarmar's screen. In the meantime, Ajarmar's second adept is called Viper. Viper is probably the most dangerous boss in the game, or the most dangerous level in the game as well. Because while you do get a health refill at the tail end of the level, in the meantime, you're basically forced to take tons of damage throughout. And there are also a ton of cycles, important cycles throughout the level that you're on. This first screen in Viper stage is especially dangerous because Ajarmar, there are these segments, there are these sections of falling blocks where Ajarmar is going to be trying to manipulate them so he can skip through them as much as possible. But he's going to be taking damage from a lot of them, and so that damage will quickly rack up, and he's going to be very low on health for quite a bit of this level. One thing we didn't mention about the flash field is that you see this kind of bar underneath the character's sprite, and that's actually depleted as you use your flash field. So you can see whenever the flash field is active, it slowly loses charge. So one quick thing to talk about right here with this mini-boss. It's very important that Ajarmar gets a 2-cycle here. So let's see if he's able to get it. It's all dependent on your mashing ability. Oh, just barely gets it.
Very close. That was good.
If you don't get that, that mini-boss can really take a lot of extra time away from you because he sort of closes his lid and goes invulnerable for a time. And especially if he follows that up with one of the less favorable attacks, he can really take a lot of time to finish
it's like
up.
8 to 10 seconds. It's a lot.
So you can see here especially that Ajarmar is going to be taking a lot of damage from these boxes, but also there's a section coming up here where he really wants to get up into the crevice coming up before the black box spawns. It's coming up right here. Oh, he just barely makes it. Let's clap for that, because that's a very tight. I mean, that's on a global timer from the moment the level begins, and so you have to just chain together a series of very difficult maneuvers in order to make it in time.
So as you can see, Ajarmar's health is getting kind of low again, and he'll be using another time level up at the end of the stage so that he can enter the boss fight with pretty much max health.
Yes, because Viper himself, the adept coming up, is a very, very damaging boss. But before that, we are going to just be kind of, moving through more of these boxes, as well as watching Ajarmar as he gets that final level up, hopefully at the right time. Meanwhile, Greenalink is in the Carrera stage, which we saw Ajarmar complete moments ago. He did get the level up, and so that allows him to take the damage boosts that he needs from this lava, as well as giving him a decent amount of health coming into the boss fight.
Alright, so we're entering the Viper fight for Ajarmar. Viper is a pretty scary boss because not only can he do a lot of damage to you, you'll notice that there's 2 fire pillars adjacent to the arena. You can do a lot of damage. Alright, so this first form, he can either slide at you twice, and you have to be very careful about not getting hit by a slide, or he can shoot the bombs at you, which is actually fairly safe. Going into the second phase, this is probably the most dangerous phase, and he has a whole plethora of attacks. Generally, Ajarmar is picking very safe locations so that he doesn't get hit. The way it works is that if you get hit by the boss, you can ricochet into the lava pillars and take more damage. So he navigated that pretty well. again, he's going to be using Astrosphere at specific parts. He uses it right before the enemy does their super attack, and he actually gets to recharge time for the next one. So he gets a few tags in, and then he's going to try to do one last Astrosphere to finish him off. And it was very clean. It was good.
Yep. Nice job. Now, I certainly don't want to take anything away from Greenalink here. He did finish his second Adept sooner than Ajarmar did. We won't really be able to easily know for sure just how they match up until, again, after the 4th Adept stage. But until then, we'll see how it goes.
Something we should mention is that they're playing on speedrun mode as opposed to the regular mode. And when you play this game for the first time under story mode, you have something called the pre-evasion chain, which is basically if you take contact damage with an enemy, if you're not using the flash field, you actually don't take any damage. But that is disabled for speedrun mode, so basically they have to dodge every enemy as if it was sort of a normal Mega Man game, which is a completely different style and run than having the pre-evasion chain on.
So Ajarmar is now headed into Jota's stage. Jota is the first boss which Greenalink went into. The thing about Jota's stage is that there are these sign of light circles because Jota's stage, his theme is light basically. And so each one, as you can see, each one of these kind of light portals acts as a trampoline and bounces you in the direction that it's facing. Some of these are unfavorable, like you can see that one there actually faces in the direction you don't want to go, whereas some of them just lead directly into spikes, which of course you don't want to go into either. Now, as we finish up this first section and get into the second section, we're going to see a really cool thing about these light portals, and that is they start to become diagonal. And you're able to use that to conserve your momentum because the speed of these light portals is actually faster than a normal running speed. So there, for example, Ajarmar, after he jumped into a diagonal portal, he continued using his flash field because the flash field not only deals damage, it also actually has a hover mechanic built into it. So if you want to be staying in the air for a time, you can use your flash field not for damage, but for that hover mechanic. And you can see he'll do the same thing there. Interestingly enough, even just jumping normally is actually a little bit faster than running. Not that much, but just a little bit. And so typically the runners will be, where it's opportune to do so, they'll be looking to be jumping over kind of flat ground rather than just running straight across it. And so now Ajarmar's headed into his third Adept, which is named Jota.
So the first form of Jota will have two attacks. One is much more favorable than the other. If he decides to throw the spikes, which is this form, Ajarmar is going to use an Astrosphere because he'll be able to maximize damage output. The other attack is not terrible, but it's not nearly as efficient. This is the other attack. Going into the second phase, Jota adds 2 more attacks. We'll see which one he gets. So in this form, he does decide to use an Astrosphere because he was able to, he just saw this form right away. So we'll be able to enter the third phase. Third phase is actually scripted, basically, in that we can't avoid this the text that comes up, but it's nothing too dangerous. This is one of the more simple fights. Ends it with an Astrosphere to finish it up.
It really is interesting that a lot of these boss fights, I mean, kind of like Mega Man games, you never know what they're going to do. They don't have these fixed patterns, so you not only need to kind of just damage them as much as possible, you also need to keep in mind when they're most weak and really optimize your strategies and your skill usage around that. Now that we've got, both of these players have 3 Adepts down, this is a very, very close race. Again, we still have 1 more Adept before they match up, but even before that, there's actually a midpoint stage. And the Adept behind that stage is named Copen. They're going to take a brief period of time here. The skills that you have available to you are actually dependent on how many, your level, I believe. And so now that they're several levels in, they have the heal ability, which is available to them. Now, this heal ability is not only useful for just kind of safety reasons, it's also available for a skip we'll be seeing shortly. So in the meantime, this Copen stage, it can really kind of throw off the senses, because while this first section is pretty straightforward, as we get into later sections, they actually start to be upside down, and so you really have to be careful about that. And there are a lot of precise jumps, like for these moving platforms or the thinner platforms, that you really just want to be very, very careful of. But that hover mechanic is very, very useful to make sure that you're able to navigate those platforms successfully.
So this is a mid-stage. Some of the later Mega Mans in the classic series have like a middle stage after you defeat a certain amount of robots. So in this case, after you defeat 3 adepts, they'll be going to the same stage around the same time. So that's why it looks like they're on the same level at the same time, but their routes will not converge until a few stages after this.
Ajarmar, you might have noticed that after he unlocked the checkpoint, he chucked himself into a pit. Once you do, not a checkpoint, but a kind of door to the next area, once you do open that door, you can't die. So you can just do whatever you want and mess around in the meantime. This level is actually also a little bit mazy, but obviously in a speedrun route, you know where to go. Now, we haven't said too much about these alarm sections yet. You've seen them several times, but we haven't said too much about them. You can beat them by 2 different ways. There's a number of waves at the bottom of the screen, waves of enemies, and you can either fight your way all the way through those usually kind of about 10 waves of enemies, or you can just straight up damage the alarm by, you know, the normal method of shooting it and following it up with your flash field. And that's what they'll be doing in almost all cases except for one. And here we go with the upside down section. Your eyes do not deceive you.
Just want to quickly point out that Ajarmar was worrying about a cycle for the platforms in that stage, and he was able to hit it in just an amount of time. So sometimes global cycles are a thing in this game, and it certainly is in this stage too. Just have to be precise and know where you are. So, okay, so entering the Copen fight. So Copen will get abilities based on the adepts that you previously defeated. So it's sort of like Mega Man. He gets their abilities, and then he uses them against you. Copen is a fairly weak boss in that he takes a lot of damage from abilities, and especially Astrosphere. So the route consideration has a lot to do with this guy, in that certain abilities that he can use are slower and some are faster. So the ones used for Ajarmar's route are pretty much the fastest.
Now the danger, they've both done the Carrera Adept by now, but the danger in doing him is that he gives the, Copen the ability to shoot these purple bolts. And if you're hit by one of those bolts, it just kind of locks your, kind of overheats your weapon energy bar, meaning you can't use your energy for some time and thus can't deal damage.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, so you have to be really careful about that. So Ajarmar is now headed into Stratos' stage, which Greenalink has already completed. And again, after this stage, they will be matched up and we'll be able to see how they compare. Stratos' theme is, I believe, consumption. And that'll be evident. It's kind of like, it's a very earthy, life-themed stage. But you'll be kind of seeing, once we see the boss and his ability to sort of summon insects, you'll see how that consumption comes into play. It's a very difficult level, and it's really the last one where they've very carefully calculated when to take a level up. And so they'll be taking, especially, it's the tail end of the stage, but once they reach it, you'll see that, once Ajarmar reaches it, you'll see that he takes a lot of damage on purpose, followed up by a level up. But it is one of the more dangerous parts of the level, of the game rather. And it's very easy to kind of miscalculate damage, or maybe accidentally miscalculate where your experience bar is at, and so you might make a mistake there. This mini-boss, the idea here is that once he closes up, you have to deal a set amount of damage to make him open up, and then you actually need to damage him, do the actual damage to him by normal methods. So Ajarmar is going to open it up with an Astrosphere, and then immediately tag him as soon as possible, and finish him up with a Flash Field. It's a pretty simple boss, but we had to kind of compare routes and strategies to him, because you might think that it's better to just save your Astrosphere for once he's vulnerable, but it's actually better to make him open up faster. So let's see if Greenalink's able to get the 2 cycle. Oh, just barely.
Really
He's so,
close, though.
I believe it's 300 when the mini boss actually dies. So he's only 14 kind of points. Those points can be equated to damage in a way. And he was very close to getting that 2 cycle, but unfortunately it didn't work out. So yep, Ajarmar's health is currently at 3/4, and we'll be seeing him take a little bit of damage as he progresses, especially in this part here. And then again, just kind of follow it up by a level up, hopefully exactly when he wants one. Oh, actually, I don't think he's doing pretty good on health. We'll see how it goes. Meanwhile, Greenalink, navigating through these difficult boxes. And there's the level up. So Ajarmar was actually pretty good on health. Oh, Greenalink doesn't make the cycle, unfortunately. Ajarmar was pretty good on health, but he still got that level up just because, he plans the enemy kills around it. So he got it at the same point, even though he didn't need it that badly.
Okay, so the Stratos fight is actually one of the more complicated fights. So we talked about tagging, and your weapons have different amount of tags. So on this guy, he has various attacks that sometimes it's better for you to tag multiple things and do more damage. So in the first phase, Astrosphere is used to basically maximize damage because Stratos happens to be on the screen and weak. From here, Ajarmar is going to use Astrosphere in each phase. He has to try to get as many tags in as soon as the phase is over, and Stratos jumps right here. So ideally on this boss, you're able to get enough tags in and do damage before the text shows up, but Ajarmar was able to get it, so it was pretty close. It was good. It was good.
So now that Ajarmar has finished his 4th Adept, I guess technically 5th with that midpoint, we can see that he is currently in the lead, just as Greenalink reaches his last Adept before they match up, being Viper. So again, Viper is a very dangerous boss, so hopefully Greenalink can make it through. So meanwhile, this is one of the most important adepts in the run, because we're headed into Merak stage. There's a huge skip, potentially 20 to 30 second savings in this level, and it's very early on. Though basically the idea is that if you're familiar with the idea of neon jumps in the Mega Man X series, this will be familiar to you. Basically the idea is that if you jump into the air, follow it up with a skill, then you can, just as the skill ends, you have a 1-frame window in which you can follow it up with another jump, effectively doing a double jump, and getting up to a section which is normally takes you need an actual power-up to be able to reach it. Here it is. Let's see if he gets it. He makes it!
That's very good. That's
One
really good.
frame jump. Congratulations,
16
Ajarmar.
milliseconds. It's pretty impressive.
And it's interesting as well, because if you are unable to make that, then, again, being able to get up there uses up one of your skills. So you have this choice if you miss it once, where you can either keep trying and not only not only take the time to try for it again, but also lose the skills which you would normally want later in the stage. So, or on the other hand, you could just say, count your losses and move ahead and just eat that 20 to 30 second time loss, plus the time of actually trying to skip in the first place. Greenalink will be, again, they are matched up now, so Greenalink is also heading into Merak stage, so let's wish for the best for him as well in getting the skip. He has said he will, I believe, he'll be trying for it twice. Ajarmar is headed through this right now. I mean, he's going so fast you can't tell, but there's actually this flood section. So I'm going to focus on Greenalink's screen real quick, and let's see if he makes this jump. Oh, he's going to give it one more try. He's using pause buffering. I think he made it. He did make it. Congratulations,
That's
Greenalink.
really good. That's good.
So while he did take his second try to be able to make it successfully, it is still a huge time savings. So I'm really glad both of the racers were able to do it.
Although skills are pretty valuable, in this stage it's not so bad to only have one skill against the boss, so it was worth it. Alright, so entering the Merak fight. Merak is a boss that has comparatively like higher defense than the other bosses, so he's not weak. And basically, Astrosphere is not as useful, so we'll be seeing these players basically trying to get as many tags as quickly as possible, and then constantly mashing, doing jumping and mashing, and just try to get as many hits in as possible. His first phase is very, it's not a consideration at all as far as you taking damage. It's all good. The next phase, we'll see these large fists come out, which do quite a bit of damage and are quite scary. But they are random, so they have to react pretty quickly. So Ajarmar was able to find which way to go. And then on this last phase, it will use one Astrosphere, but he has to wait until the opportune time to unleash it. This attack is quite damaging, but as long as your movement is consistent, you'll always get the same output. So be able to navigate it pretty well and finish out the boss. So that's good.
Nice kill. Greenalink, meanwhile, finishing up Marek as well. The sixth and final adept is called, well, technically not, but the sixth adept before the final stages is called Elise. And her theme is necromancy. It's a very, very dark stage, and there's an interesting theme that goes along with it, because the idea is that there are these colored laser barriers and there are these different lights associated with them, from green to blue to red, I believe. And you need to be able to make, in some cases, very precise shots to hit those laser barriers, those kind of laser unlock panels, which unlock the laser doors associated with them. And so they're going to have, Ajarmar and Greenalink are going to have to be making these precise shots in order to navigate the level as quickly as possible. And we'll be seeing that shortly. Again, one thing I did want to mention, you might not have noticed it, but when this level when the game started, their weapon in the upper left, you can see these kind of 5 dots on each of their screens. It only had 3 dots originally, and after they finished the first adept, they were able to get a new gun which upgraded to 5 little dots. What those dots represent is the maximum tags you can have at the same time. So originally, they were only, well, at any time you can only tag a given enemy 3 times. You can tag multiple enemies. So now that they have the upgrade, the next gun, they're actually able to tag, for example, one enemy 3 times and another enemy twice. And that'll come in handy as we progress through the game, especially on bosses where there's more than one target, such as in this stage.
Yeah, it's especially important on the boss coming up here. We'll get into it, but having the right weapons for Elise is very important.
So again, the darkness theme continues. And it's hard to really pinpoint these precise shots, but usually you're supposed to approach these panels much more closely, but there are particular very delicate shots like that. Well, yeah, so Ajarmar missed that shot, unfortunately. I think that might have cost him some time, but he's continuing on. And it's not a big time loss, but it does make a small difference. And obviously, all these little time losses start building up. Another alarm mini-boss, the second of 2 in Elise's stage. You can actually go up to 64 levels of experience in this game. I don't remember where they end in a speedrun. I think it's maybe 8 or something, maybe even less than that. It's 8 at most. But as you get more skills, or as you get more levels, you get more and more skills. Some of the most later skills are extremely useful, and even the one you get right around level 14 does quite a bit of damage. It's called the Lux Caliber. It takes up 2 different of those little skill counters, but it does a colossal amount of damage over a very short period of time. When this game first started being researched, they kind of thought about if it was worth it, but they decided it's not.
Okay, so we're entering the Elise fight. Basically, the big picture is that there's 2 targets, and if you kill one target, the other one's going to revive the one that you killed. So the way it works is that you have to deal a specific amount of damage to each target. So you'll see that Ajarmar here is targeting 3 times on the right and 2 times on the left in this instance, and he did the reverse on the first phase. And he's using basically math to make sure that their damage is very consistent. On this last phase, he's going to get 2 targets, which is both yellow. And if he kills them at the same time, then It's basically what he needs to do to win the fight, which he did very well. So that's good.
Did you mention what happens if he doesn't?
They revive
Okay,
each
yeah.
other, right? Yeah.
So he has now finished all of the Adepts early in the game, and so he's going to be headed into the Wily levels, but in this game it's the Nova levels. The first one is very, very brief, and is mostly made up of different mini bosses. Well, the second, I believe, is definitely made up of mini bosses. But either way, now since this level is so quick, we could have some time for a couple donations. Do we have any donations we could read off?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Blecky. Thank you very much, Pichu93, for the $50 donation. Hello from Umeå, Sweden, Ajarmar's hometown. I know Ajarmar, so I know he'll appreciate me wanting to save the animals. Let's kick cancer to the curb with an Ajarmar special. We got a donation earlier that I don't think Greenalink heard out from Mr. Squirrel, giving a shout out to Greenalink's squirrel videos. Let's see here.
So let's see how Greenalink does on this Elise fight. Again, they do kind of develop their strategies so to avoid that resurrection spell at all costs. But it's a very, very precise window. So even with this strat of making sure they die at the same time, there can still be the occasional mess up, which causes that resurrection ability to occur. So hopefully he doesn't see it. Nice job. Let's give a quick round of applause for both of them as they now finish both all the Adept stages and are both in the Nova stages. This second Nova stage that Ajarmar is heading into is a really interesting one because it features this rain mechanic where normally, like I said before, jumping through the air is very, very slightly faster than just running along the ground. However, you can see from this rain mechanic that actually indicates the way that the wind is heading. And so while you're in the air in this part of the stage, whenever you're in the air, the wind is pushing against you and actually causes you to lose time. So Ajarmar is actually going to be running along the ground as much as possible in this case.
Shout outs to Toadman stage.
Shout out to Toadman, yeah. In this stage, you will be seeing a few more of those kind of red big robot mini bosses that we just saw. But the big difference is the big difference from the green robots that we saw in the very, very intro stage is that these can actually jump at you. And so there are certain kind of patterns that you want to see and that you don't want to see. And we'll see how Ajarmar and Greenalink do as they kind of fight this series of mini bosses.
Now shout outs to Tornado Man stage.
Yeah, so now the wind is working in his favor, and so he wants to be in the air once again as much as possible. Especially now because the wind pushes him along. So when the mini boss jumps over and back like that, it's the unlucky pattern. Because instead of jumping over you, he can actually just kind of fall down in place and become vulnerable there. But unfortunately, Ajarmar didn't get that this time. It's a small time loss, but still an important one. So I just really love the way that this rain mechanic works because, especially with the hover mechanic that is unique to this game, you're really able to make use of that a ton. And it's very interesting to me. Oh, unfortunately, Ajarmar does get that hop once again. So it's another couple seconds lost. Ajarmar does have one more of those red mini bosses to defeat, as there are 3 total, I believe. But and then after that, we will see the first of the refights. Most of the refights occur in the following stage we'll be seeing shortly, but the first one is Merak, which is unique to this stage, and it's the only one that, or just about the only one that appears outside of the next stage. This mini-boss does take place over this set of spikes. The spikes in this game aren't instant kill. The only thing that is instant kill, for the most part, are the pits throughout the game, as well as an attack of the final boss. But those spikes aren't instant kill, but it can still deal a heavy chunk of damage to you. So Ajarmar is headed into the first refight again, which is Merak. We'll be seeing him again. Most of the refights do have the same attacks as their first forms, Merak included, but the difference here is that, of course, the stage design is different. Not only does he have to deal with the rain, which is working against him, but he also has these pits on both sides of the level. Fortunately, like Tonic said before, your Astrosphere attack isn't pivotal on the Merak fight, and so it won't be pivotal here as well. So Ajarmar was able to freely use those Astrosphere abilities earlier in the stage to defeat mostly those red mini-bosses.
So throughout the stage, they use 3 Astrospheres against the mini-bosses, but he still has 1 skill left, and basically the way it works is that over time, you'll replenish your skill points. So basically, by the time the level was finished, he got 1 Astrosphere back, and he can use it at the end.
Ajarmar is running very, very low. Let's see if this Astrosphere can
close.
finish him off, and it does. I think one more of those big punches would have taken him out, so it was close. Greenalink coming up on the end of the stage as well, after I believe 1 or 2 more mini-boss fights. So Nova 3 is the stage where most refights take place, and is by far the single most dangerous part of the run, because the first section of this game is 3 of the bosses we've already seen in a row, the last of whom is Viper, the most dangerous one by far, who was, again, preceded by two of the Adepts anyway. And not only that, but while each of the Adepts does have the same abilities that they had before, and the stage design isn't any different, you only have 3 skills across these 3 bosses. So you have to portion those out very, very carefully. And you can, if you want, you can save the heal ability for Viper just in case something wrong happens. But ideally, you want to use your Astrosphere attacks, which is obviously the damaging one instead of the heal ability. So, oh yeah. Yeah, and most importantly, thank you, Yoka, for reminding me of this. There's no checkpoint until after those 3 Adepts are finished. And so if you do die on the Viper fight, you have to go all the way to the beginning of this stage before the first Adept, losing potentially a couple minutes.
So Ajarmar does choose to use 2 Astrospheres on the first boss, and it does significantly speed up this boss fight, but it's a risk-reward thing, so we'll see how it plays out.
Next up is Johto, which again, fortunately for our runners, is one of the easier fights. It can lose a little bit of time just based on the luck he gives you, but it's not at all a damaging fight. So fortunately, they won't need to use any of their skills on Johto. Probably. We'll see what Ajarmar does. He might choose to just for that extra bit of damage. We'll see. Greenalink now heading into Nova 3 as well. And not only, even after the checkpoint, after Viper, the Elise refight in this stage is also very, very dangerous. So this stage does not let up with its difficulty.
Thank you, Pokemon Rocks, for the $25 donation. Donating during one of Greenalink's runs because I love watching the runs he does. Keep up the good work, and I think I'll finally donate towards allowing the animals to perish in Super Metroid. Frames do matter.
Thanks, brothers. I think we got time for one more as Ajarmar heads into this Viper refight.
Thank you very much, Jeexus, for the $25 donation. Lost my grandfather early this year due to mesothelioma. He fought for a year after being given only a couple months to live. It's been a very rough time for the whole family, but I've been looking forward to AGDQ since then so that I could donate and help stop this sort of thing from affecting many other families. This donation goes towards killing the animals because fusion is canon no matter what happens, and we all know they survive anyway. Save the frames.
So Ajarmar does have this 2-skill buffer. If things get hairy early on, he can certainly use that for a heal. We'll just have to see how he deals with it, because you're able to adapt in this game and kind of pick your strats on the fly if you so choose. Either the safer strats or riskier strats, which will get the job done more quickly.
Looks like he'll be doing what he did before and basically use 2 Astrospheres. even though final form is quite dangerous. And his health is going to carry over from this fight into the next fight, so whatever he can do to save damage is definitely helpful.
Nice job. So he's made it to a checkpoint. It's not over yet, but fortunately he has made it to a checkpoint. And he's leveled up as well to get that health increase. Meanwhile, Greenalink just finishing off Jota here, so they're really only kind of 1.5 of these boss refights away from each other.
So Ajarmar's entering Elise Phase 2, and this fight is actually a little bit different. So we were talking a bit before about how that we wanted to avoid resurrection, but there's a forced resurrection here, so you'll see what we're talking about. Another thing to note about this second fight is that they have a weapon called the Orochi, which has 8 tags, so they can get 3 tags in both of these targets, but still they're going to be considering the math. So here there's 3 tags on one and 2 on the other, referenced by the different colors. And after Ajarmar kills both of them, so right here you'll see a resurrection occur.
Okay. So this is the forced resurrection, and that's okay. Again, he could have had the accidental resurrection, but he was able to get past it.
Right. So if he ends the fight now by damaging them with 3 tags each, just like this, he can actually cue the end of the fight. We got J-Pop.
Oh, nice!
It's a
Oh, that's
that
the
was-
accidental resurrection.
It's very tight window. It's very difficult to deal with.
You can see that was less than half a
I
second
mean,
easily.
you can see the health bar. It's
Yeah.
0.
So now Ajarmar still has to be delicate with this because, I mean, if he miscalculates anything, he can see another resurrection. And there it is.
It's so tight. Basically, when they're not taking an action, they can chew the resurrection instantly. So hopefully they're in like a middle of an attack, and you can cue the end of the fight. So
Greenalink finishes up the Viper refight,
Oh.
so very well. Oh, another resurrection.
so close.
So unfortunately, Ajarmar has lost a significant amount of time from these 3 resurrections. And if Greenalink gets none, that's all the, that's much closer that this race is.
All right.
There he goes.
He moved on. That fight is filled with opportunities for you to lose your flash field.
Yeah.
So okay.
It's
so this
also
is-
even very dangerous.
Yeah. So this is the last Copen fight. So Copen has all 6 abilities from the adepts. So it's really you have to react to what he gives you. Luckily, Astrosphere does do a lot of damage, and you'll see that hopefully Ajarmar gets his last Astrosphere from time when he gets to the final form of Copen. But for the most part, this guy, again, doesn't have high defense, so he takes quite a bit of damage. Okay, so here, this is an example of Ajarmar losing his flash field, so he has to do his best to just not take as much damage, but as you can see, he's very defenseless without it.
Greenalink finishes through the forced resurrection. Ajarmar did get hit by that magnet shot I mentioned in the first Copen fight, and he was unable to use his flash field during that time, so we just had to pepper him with bullets.
So using a well-timed Astrosphere here, Ajarmar should be able to cue the end of the fight.
I'm watching Greenalink. Let's
Very
see if he
good.
does it. Nice shot, Greenalink.
So Greenalink
made it
got
through
it.
with no resurrection.
Okay,
So
very nice.
a lot of time saved there over Ajarmar. And that's the end of the Nova 3 stage. We are now headed into the final stage, Nova 4. There's one more Adept to refight, as well as a very difficult boss as well. Difficult pair of bosses, in fact.
Thank you very much, Anonymous, for the $10 donation, Drunken Yoshi for the $10 donation, and Exotic Mandibles for the $100 donation, all of which are going towards giving a shout out to Blecky's continuing high quality of commentary.
Thank you. So yep, this last stage does have quite a bit of platforming to it. And here we are, I think this is that's right, this is an alarm section. Okay, nice job, Greenalink. He finishes up Nova 3. This is the only alarm section that you're actually forced to fight through all the waves of enemies. I mean, it's trivial, but it's just an interesting little note that even though that's technically an alarm room, there's no alarm to actually defeat.
We'll see where Ajarmar is on the EXP route, but there's a chance that he can queue a EXP level up at the end of this first fight against Nova 1. So we'll see. It's not super imperative, but it does help out. Safety.
I wanted to clarify just for a moment why exactly we heard J-pop coming out of Ajarmar's computer. Basically, you see that kind of number that's being tallied up in the upper left? Oh, I can't. If that number in the upper left gets high enough from dealing a lot of damage without taking damage, then the game rewards you with some J-pop.
So against Nova, he too has a very low defense, so you can dish out a lot of damage. The way this fight works is that you need to trigger the flash field on the angel that's behind him in order to actually get tags, and that's what you need to do to actually damage him. Luckily, like I said, he's very low on defense, so he takes a lot of damage, and a well-timed dash spear at the end will trigger it. So there's 2 phases to this boss, so this is sort of like a typical final boss in a lot of the later like Zero series. It's kind of like the first form isn't too hard, and the second one kind of brings the heat. So this second form is kind of complicated, and basically the way it works is that you need to tag both of those dragon-looking dudes on the right and the left to be able to. You have to tag them, and then you can actually tag the core in the middle, and that's where he's got the purple tag for 3 tags in the middle, so that he can actually deal damage to the boss. There's a whole plethora of attacks that can come out. This is the most unfavorable one, because basically you just can't deal any damage. Okay, he very narrowly avoided death there. The second phase of this boss adds in a few more attacks. It's really just more dangerous, but it doesn't lose him any more time. But Ajarmar definitely does need to be careful about taking too much damage, because he could die. So now we're in the final phase. Basically, a giant meteor comes from the top down. If he makes any contact with it, it's an instant kill. But luckily, he was able to navigate it fine. So that was
Nice
good.
job.
That was good. Greenalink entering the final form.
This is actually this is pretty close, and the final boss is pretty dangerous.
Yes. One wrong move, you can lose like 10, 15 seconds. You lose your flash field, so it's a big deal.
There is one more refight before we get to that final boss, which is going to be Carrera. We saw him before, and we'll see him again very shortly. I want to make sure I'm pulling for Greenalink to finish this boss without any issues. Oh, where's the
You
pop
get
coming from?
Yeah. And the final stage, you get it. Okay. Sorry.
Tonic before earlier mentioned a little bit about that pre-evasion ability, which is available usually only in story mode, but even in speedrun mode on this very last section of the game, you see this kind of aura around Gunvolt, and that not only gives you unlimited weapon energy, it also allows you that pre-evasion ability, which means that as long as you are not using the flash field, you can't get hit, basically. Like you can see there, Ajarmar kind of phases out momentarily. So for the most part, I mean, this refight is made a little bit easier because you have that extra ability. But that being said, because you always have your flash field active anyway for a boss fight, you aren't usually able to make use of that pre-evasion. But you also don't have to recharge it, so but it's still easier.
And some of the things, you're in like this very superpower, so you can see that Ajarmar is like spamming jumps. So you get infinite jumps, you get infinite air dashes. The game kind of gives you this like very overpowered set of skills to finish out the game, but you'll need it against the final boss coming up soon.
You can see right there, he's flying and he's pre-baiting. Greenalink heading into the Carrera refight. So this final boss fight is very, very luck-based and very, very difficult. You can lose a ton of time on him just based on what he does. Asimov.
So the way it works against Asimov is that you can't tag him until he does this super attack like this, and then you have to basically battle him with your flash field, and then you can actually land tags on him. But otherwise, you can't deal any damage. So you have to every phase, you have to wait until you can actually tag him.
By the way, I wasn't looking at his time, but Ajarmar's on a ridiculous run right now.
Yeah.
49 in-game time to be able to finish sub 50 is absurd. I'm not sure if that's possible, but even just like barely above 50 minutes is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So this is really a solid run for both of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, getting a sub 50 in a race would be nuts.
Yeah, it might happen. So yeah, these purple balls are very, very dangerous, and that if you lose your flash field ability and get locked, you can easily die in this fight. This is the final form, so this attack called Voltaic Chains is a one-hit kill. So the way it works is that you just have to watch out for the last chain that comes out because that tracks to you, and then otherwise you can pretty easily dodge. So you have to be very careful about dodging this, and this is the hardest pattern to dodge because it's effectively random.
And unfortunately, it would have been really nice to get that charge attack earlier. That would have made the sub 50 possible. We're headed to be just over. We'll probably still be in the single digits. Let's see. This is a ridiculous run. Get ready on Ajarmar.
Time. Excellent.
Ridiculous run.
That was excellent.
And I have a feeling that this is going to be a solid PB for Greenalink as well.
Yeah, Greenalink really pulled through in the second half of the
sure.
game. He really showed that he can play this game as well.
Just heading into phase 2 right now. But I believe the second best time after Ajarmar, who has a 49, what is it, Ajarmar? 49.30, 34? 49.34. I believe the second best time is Cool Kid with a 50.25. So I mean, these are really, really good times. Because of the load times? Because of load times?
So let's see, Greenalink, he's just about to finish out this fight. It's gonna be very close, probably a low 51. Again, it's very scary in the final forms. You get hit by one of these purple balls, it's really hard to survive, actually.
And he finishes.
51.
Greenalink, is that a PB? Oh, no? Okay. What was your PB? 50-45. So Greenalink gets just 20 seconds off his PB, and Ajarmar maybe 30 seconds or so. So really solid run to both these guys.
It was really great, yeah.
Nice job, guys.
Great job.
And while this game is typically tracked in in-game time, what was the real time, just so we know?
Let's see, the timing was a bit off for Ajarmar, but I believe it was around 51, and for Greenalink it was about 52.01.
Great, awesome. So now that that's over, Greenalink has a very interesting run to follow up with. So just to show off, just a very, very little brief kind of side thing with Gunvolt.
Thank you very much, John Durantos, for your $75 donation. May your rings always be unique. Thank you, Anonymous, for your $100 donation. This donation is in honor of my mom, who beat leukemia back in the 80s with what was at the time experimental treatments. I'm proud that gamers are using their powers for good to support cancer research that could save the mom of some other 6-year-old boy out there.
So I mean, I think Greenalink is set to go, right? Whenever it's needed. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they're doing now. And so the screen layout will show Greenalink on there. Because it's no longer a race, so the screen layout will show Greenalink on the screen. What's that?